For a great cup of joe, there's one thing you should know. Your morning brew can also be playful. Buff Boy Brewing guys make the temperature rise, and you surely feel naughty when you swallow our coffee. If you want some real heat, give your mouth a fine treat. You will want some more, rest assured. Buff Boy Brewing, you can't get enough of.
It's time for The Scribble, your weekly fix of celebrity chats, bizarre stories in the news, and basic random chatter with best-selling author and syndicated radio host Jeremy Bradley. Make sure your seat is in the upright and locked position and your barf bag is securely in place. Here's Jeremy Bradley.
Thank you very much, Larson. Jeremy Bradley here. This is The Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. How's it going today? Thanks for wasting 30 minutes with us. No, I really do. I appreciate everybody who tunes in and who emails and tweets along and shares your thoughts. It's great because when we do our radio shows, we've got 2 syndicated radio shows that have music, and it's a 2-hour show, and I get to talk maybe every 15 minutes if I'm lucky, and I get a 3-minute segment here and there. Or if we've got celebrity guests, it's not about me, which I hate, right? Because it's my show, I'm the star. No, it's great having our celebrity guests. We have them here on this podcast as well. But I don't get a chance to just unload, and I've got long, rambling stories that I hope you find entertaining. And I don't get a chance to share them with you on the radio if you're one of our radio listeners. So I like this platform because it's really fun. And I have a newspaper column, but I'm limited to like 400 words once a week, which is... probably I've already used that up in the first minute of this show, right? So I appreciate you who tune in and who share your thoughts with me. I do have a bunch of people that email us live at jbonair.com. Sears Canada is in the news. Actually, it's Sears in the U.S. as well in the news, that you're heading on the verge of bankruptcy, right? There's this whole court protection or whatever it's called, and it's going to be liquidation sale, I believe starting this week. Or did it already start? I don't know. Anyway, so I went to a Sears outlet store in my hometown, and when you hear the word outlet, you might get an idea of what that means, right? It's the crap that isn't good enough for the actual real stores, let's say. And so in Sears's case, they have turned one of the locations into a Sears outlet by my house. And I went there, and it is kind of dumpy, but at the same time, here's the deal. The staff right now does not care. And if you are in the United States and you haven't been following the story in Canada, let me just explain. So they're closing 50-some stores, and these are from the actual, like, Sears, like the main store. I don't know what you call it, the traditional Sears store. And then they've got other, like, home stores and outlet stores and appliance stores and things like that. So they're closing a bunch of them. And so these outlet stores are just kind of a dump. But what's happened is that employees are shocked by the news. A whole bunch of them were laid off at the corporate office. And according to reports, this is again, according to reports, we always have to say that so that we're not, the fake news thing. According to reports, the corporate office was split into 2 groups the day that they were making the announcement about their bankruptcy protection filing. Is that the people that were staying on were taken or gone to one hotel, and then the ones that were being laid off / fired / piss off were taken to another one and were basically shown the door and said, that's it, you're done. The people who were staying on apparently had like breakfast or whatever, but the people who were at this other hotel that were leaving didn't even get bottled water, they say. So you've got that, right? And it's sad when any big business goes under because people are losing jobs, right? It's sad for the people that have dedicated years, and in Sears's case, decades, right? I mean, I know that my aunt worked there for 30-some years. My mom worked there in children's wear for, I think it was 17 years when I was growing up. And many of our family members did. I have to be careful. I don't think that anybody works at Sears in my family now. No, I think everybody's moved on. Nobody works in retail as far as I know. And so what the company's doing isn't being respected by the public, but looking at it from the corporation's point of view, they have creditors and debt to pay for probably millions and millions of dollars of inventory and stock, right, and everything, and rent and things like that. So in the grand scheme of things, paying back bills is a priority, apparently, in the legal system. That's how it works. And then people's pensions and all that other stuff, severance, whatever, comes secondary, because that doesn't total as much as the other stuff. So your biggest amounts owing are paid off first, is apparently how this works in a liquidation or bankruptcy protection, whatever. So that's the corporation's sort of standpoint, that they've got to pay off these big debts. And now the people who are losing out on their money and things like that are obviously concerned, because they, one, have either retired and think they're not getting money or whatever, and have to get a job at 60 years old or whatever it is. So my point on this is that I went to the Sears outlet store, and like I said, the staff there doesn't care. I took a whole bunch of things into a fitting room, which back in the day, I recall, you would have somebody that was actually working the fitting room, that they would give you a number, they would count your articles of clothing, and you'd go in, you try it on, or they'd check on you, how are things, do you need a different size, whatever. And maybe they don't even do that anymore, I don't know, at other stores, but I think they do, if they care about customer service. And so I'm looking around going, is there somebody going to help me? Can somebody just go and get me another size of pants? Like, there was absolutely nobody near the fitting room to help me. And so I was like, all right, okay, fine. And then there was also just stuff on the ground in there. So it almost seemed like there hadn't been an employee into the fitting room area for hours, maybe even days. And I was like, all right, well, again, I don't blame them for not caring, though. This is the thing. So I'm going and I'm looking at the different shirts and pants and whatever. And I found, and this is really funny, there was a t-shirt from the Pan Am Games in 2015. It was in Toronto. Pan Am Games 2015 t-shirt for $20. A $20 shirt for the Pan Am Games that happened 2 years ago in Toronto. Now, you could argue that that's maybe a collector's item and that's why it's that price, but no. And so then I'm going and looking, and there's just some other really cheap, dumpy shirts. One of them actually bought a shirt that says, I speak sarcasm as a second language. That shirt was $4. So you've got a $20 shirt for something that is so old and dated. And now, again, I don't know if that's a fair representation of the stock that they typically carry, because it's almost a mishmash of things on the shelving or on the racks in this store. So it was comical to me, and I had to take a picture of it, because, yeah, $20 for this is just ridiculous. Now, what is it about the company that hasn't kept up with the times? So back in the day, and I know when I was growing up, you used to get the Sears Wish book, that very, very thick catalog at Christmas, and we'd go through, my brothers and I, and we'd pick what we wanted and make our lists and check it twice, and didn't get half the stuff because it was just too expensive, or we just demanded too much of our parents and they couldn't afford it. But then they say the retail environment shifts, and you got to change and you got to adapt, and it's no different than newspapers, and it's no different than so many other industries that this has happened to. But for some reason, Sears just couldn't keep up. But it's no different than other companies having to adapt, or industries having to adapt. Newspapers have had to do it. They've had to find a way to supplement income. So running videos now, and then ads before the video starts to play on their website and things like that. So Sears, I mean, I don't know the business strategy. I'm not familiar with the structure of the organization, but other companies have adapted. So that's having your website. That's having all these things. And so what Sears did, as far as I was told, was they outsourced their call center. They went and did a bunch of things. Now, they're not the first company to outsource a call center, as we know. But certainly you kind of lose that yes, it's cheaper, but then are you sacrificing customer service at the same time, right? You know that when you've had somebody from another country who maybe is difficult to understand, or maybe they don't even know your area. And I'm not saying this has nothing to do with ethnicity, religion, anything like that. I'm just saying if I live in Winnipeg, I would prefer speaking to somebody perhaps either in my hometown or at least in my country who knows where Winnipeg is. Do you know what I mean by that? Is that maybe I'm talking about delivery and I'm going to say, hey, you know what? I live by the Kildonan Place store in Winnipeg. Is it possible for, and they would say, oh, you know what, I know that area, or yeah, let me just look that up. Okay, so that's in the east part of the city, and not to say that every single Canadian knows every neighborhood in my town, but at least somebody who's familiar with Canada and just even like where things are in proximity. Like they'll know where Toronto is and they're going to know where Vancouver is, as opposed to somebody who, and I'm not even talking about Middle Eastern call centers or wherever they have them. there's just that regional customer service point of view. So yeah, you can save money at the same time. I'm not saying you shouldn't cut costs, because hello, I am a cheapskate and I'm a best-selling author of a cheapskate book. But definitely there was just something that was lost. And so Sears tried to rebrand and they've had to shut stores. But that's apparently department store shopping is not happening anymore. So they're not the first company to experience this lull or this dry spell or whatever we can call it. But certainly they haven't adapted as well as some have, and admittedly some haven't. Look at what happened with Target Canada when they tried to open. They weren't even around for a year in the country, and it was going to be this big splashy to-do that, oh my God, Target's coming to Canada, and then all of a sudden they fold, and it just was a really bad decision. When I went, they had just opened in my town just before Christmas that year, and I went there, I guess, yeah, it was beginning of December, I think, or so. Or no, I don't remember. Anyway, weeks before Christmas, half of the shelves were empty. And they were not empty because they were sold out of things. They were empty because they didn't get stock in. So there were just some really bad decisions made there. At the same time, you make bad decisions and your company loses money and folds. Well, you learn from your mistakes and you, I don't know, I guess in the case of Target, you run away with your tail between your legs. And so in Sears' case, I just found it funny that we hear that they're not keeping up with the times and they haven't adapted, and then I go to their outlet store and a $20 shirt for the Pan Am Games in 2015. So now I'm not saying that's I am saying that's a representation of the kind of quality product they did have there, because there certainly wasn't anything that I deemed to be fashionable and worthwhile. I did buy a $4 shirt that said, I speak sarcasm as a second language. A $4 shirt. So that would be, to me, it was a kind of a shirt that I would get at Spencer's Gifts for $25. That's the kind of shirt it is, if I'm painting a picture of it. So what are your thoughts on things like this? We're hearing that Amazon is demolishing the retail sector with their whole Prime Days and shipping and all of these things, but at the same time, you got to be competitive. They say that about Walmart when Walmart comes into town somewhere and they shut down the mom and pop stores. Well, it's up to the consumer, though. If the consumer really believes that local and, just mom and pop shops and supporting the community, if that's more important, then people will shop there, even if it is a little bit more expensive. So maybe your community didn't have your back to begin with. And sad to say, but that's also the reality. People are wanting the cheap deals, so they're going to go where it's cheap. And that's just kind of the way people are. And I can't fault them for that because, like I said, I'm a cheapskate. My name is Jeremy Bradley, and I'm a cheapskate.
Who are the Kardashians feuding with now? What did that little thug Justin Bieber do this time? Who's getting hitched? And who's headed for Splitsville? Hear the latest celebrity news and gossip every day on Entertainment Wrap-Up. The good, the bad, the ugly, but mostly the ridiculously hilarious. It's all recapped in this daily segment at entertainmentwrapup.com. Have a laugh at the expense of the rich and famous when they take themselves way too seriously. It's 3 minutes of time-wasting fun at entertainmentwrapup.com. Check out Entertainment Wrap-Up at entertainmentwrapup.com. Brought to you by Speak Free Books.
Ever had something to get off your chest but never had the balls to say it? That's a load of crap. Speak Free with JB.com is exactly what you've been waiting for. Your chance to tell it like it is and not care what anybody else thinks. Have your say on issues of the day. Join newspaper and radio columnist Jeremy Bradley as he tells it like it is. Hundreds of thousands of people have stopped by, including some well-known celebrities who have had a chat with JB and speak candidly about what's really going on in the world. You can join them too. Have a rant or a rave. Be brave and head on over to www.speakfreewithjb.com now.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. I don't like change, and maybe it's just because I'm getting older. Actually, I'm turning 35 in a few days, aren't I? And I'm one of those people who I like my computer programs just fine. So, case in point, Outlook or Microsoft Word. Any of these programs. I'm used to it. I know it like the back of my hand, front and back, inside out. I know exactly where to go. And then all of a sudden, they come out with a new version, an updated one, and a lot of people like it, right? Because there's new features, there's things that they've maybe enhanced because of feedback from users and things like that. It throws me off. And it's no different than when I get a new computer. I absolutely hate getting a new computer or a new phone. Again, usually an exciting time because you're like, oh yeah, I'm going to soup it up, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. No, because now I've got to place everything again, like on my desktop. I've got to put folders in the same spots. I've got to do all of these things. And I absolutely hate it. I really, really do. And again, I had a laptop for probably about 11 years. I'm not kidding you. I had a laptop and I was on its last legs. And the screen was like flickering. There were these red lines that were going up and down the one side. I used it as long as I could. And finally I gave in. And I bought a laptop. Now again, much faster, so much lighter because the other one weighed a good 10 pounds. So this one is just like top of the line, whatever. I resent it so hard. I just don't like it. It does everything I absolutely need it to. Faster, in brilliant color and everything. But I hate it. And so it's annoying to me. So again, when I get a new phone, I will hold on to my phone as long as I can. Now, I take very good care of my property. So I'm not one of those people that has like the cracked phone screen. Believe it or not, my BlackBerry, shut up, don't judge. My BlackBerry still has the plastic on the screen, the protective, I guess you call it, protective plastic, whatever. When you first get it, you usually peel that off. Mine still has it fully intact. It still has it. Now, again, don't judge me because I'm a BlackBerry, because they were a supporter of our radio shows, and I would get free phones all the time, and so don't judge me for that. And I also, here's the deal about not liking change. I like the keyboard, and that's what I grew accustomed to. Many BlackBerry users know that, and I've heard from a lot of people who say, when they judge me that I've got a BlackBerry, I've heard them go and say, yeah, you know what, I do miss the keyboard. Yeah, that was the only thing that I liked about it. I don't use a phone for a million apps and all these other things. So for me, my phone is to do email, to surf the internet, and to make calls, obviously. I know, isn't that funny? That was the last thing I mentioned on the list of uses for my phone. But certainly, I have very limited use on my phone, so I'm fine with it. If I needed every single app that can control my air conditioning and my garage door and calculate the tip that I'm going to not leave at a restaurant and all these other things, then yeah, I probably need another phone. But for what I use mine for, a BlackBerry is just fine. So again, when you get a software update or some kind of new, like when Windows has these updates and it wants to walk you through everything, I'm like, I don't care. And it's no different than when I got a new desktop computer or laptop and it had a different version of Windows. And I'm like, you know what? I just want it to be Windows XP again. That's what I want. I want Windows XP. But it sucks because, as you know, when they discontinue support for Windows XP or BlackBerry models or whatever it is, you're kind of screwed and you've got to rely on the internet to get you that information. So there you go. And yes, believe it or not, here's where you go again. I have 2 desktop computers at home. One of them is still Windows XP. It really is. But again, my computer usage is very basic. That computer is actually really only used for email. And that's something that I've had since even I lived with my parents. So we're going back, a good 12 years, I would say. I had that computer at my parents' house. I have the exact same version of Outlook. I have probably 2 gigabytes of email in that Outlook program. And that's just where it is. Now, the email also comes to my cell phone, too, so it goes to both places. But at the end of the day, that's the computer that when I'm at home and I need to do email, I have this massive tower just to do email. And I've got a very smaller other version, and I use that for actual work stuff if I'm working from home. So there you are. Those are my thoughts on technology. Live at jbonair.com is my email address. Live at jbonair.com.
It's never too early to start thinking about your next holiday. Have you checked out Mexico recently? From tequila tasting, swimming with horses, to ziplining through the jungle and watching whales and dolphins in their natural habitat, Puerto Vallarta has it all. Visit mexico.jbonair.com to see all the fun PV has to offer. That's at mexico.jbonair.com for hundreds of photos, interviews, and videos from around the tourist hotspot. Check out mexico.jbonair.com for all the fun. That's mexico.jbonair.com.
Jeremy Bradley here, back on the Scribble. Thanks for tuning in at thescribbleshow.com and on SoundCloud and iTunes. And I'm also on Twitter at Jeremy D. Bradley. At Jeremy D. Bradley. The funny thing is that I don't spend much time on social media. I have TweetDeck on my computer on the screen beside me here, so when we're taping our radio shows and when I'm doing this, I will glance over during a commercial or whatever it is and just kind of see. And there's a bunch of them where I'm looking and I go, I see these tweets from people and I'm looking, thinking, I have no idea who that is. Not a clue. But for some reason, at one point or another, I found them interesting enough or relevant enough to follow on Twitter. I don't know. I don't get it. And then I started to hear about all this politics of people who will, what is it called? They'll, follow for a follow. So if you follow them, they'll follow you. And, that, I swear to you, I'm not kidding. I spend maybe, aside from Bachelorette tweeting, maybe an hour on social media a week. I'm not kidding you. When we do our entertainment headlines, we load them up, and it takes about 5 minutes to program those for the day or whatever it might be. And then there's some days that it's not even me doing it. But I'm not one of those people who sits and scrolls and follows 100,000 people because I don't know how you could even keep track of everybody. And the only way you could is that you're on there 24/7. And I'm not kidding you. When I wrote down the book, Put Down Your Damn Phone already, so I really do mean that. PutDownYourDamnPhone.com and on Amazon and iTunes. But it's not uncommon for me on when we're done taping for the week and I've got 2 days off or 3 days off, however the schedule falls that week, it's not uncommon for me to not even know where my cell phone is in the house. And where is it? It's in the kitchen. I left it on the counter. All right, whatever. And I'm not even thinking about it. There's some people that freak out. People, it's probably you. But there's people that are they walk down the street, they're clutching it, they're not even letting go of it. And they just, it's like those, I call them the bubble machines, the people that smoke with those little electric device things, because you really look cool with those. But yeah, so for me, I don't rely on it heavily. As you've heard, I am a BlackBerry user, so there's not really much I can do on my phone, but certainly I'm not addicted to it, and I'm not clutching it 24/7. As it is right now, is it even on my desk here? Oh, there, yeah. So it's on my desk, but it's not even in front of me. I didn't even see it. And then you've got those people that have it on their desk at work, and they're just constantly like, "Ooh, did I miss a text? Did I see?" Like, oh, please give it a rest already. I would love to know your thoughts on this, by the way, about obnoxious cell phone use. If you haven't checked out my book, I'm not just mentioning it to plug it, but in a way I am. Send me an email, live@jbonair.com, live@jbonair.com, because it really is so intrusive. And yeah, I don't know. I mentioned last week on the show, was it last week that I was talking about it? Yeah, on social media, where people on their vacations are just texting and tweeting and posting every minute of their vacation. And I think a big part of it is to try to make others jealous. That's one thing. But two, how are you really living in the moment? And I started to tell that story. I know we were running out of time last week, but to me, I was so caught up. And I was doing some really cool things. I mean, I was covering red carpet events in Hollywood, and I was hanging out with celebrities, and I was doing a ton of crap that you should be enjoying in the moment and living in the moment. And the very first time that I actually ever said that to myself was at Betty White's 90th birthday. I remember because I was very excited about going to that. And I knew that those events, I was so focused on preparing for the red carpet and what to say and how this is going to work, and we're doing a live show and whatever, and people were telling me in the office, just live in the moment. People are going to know, listeners are going to know that this is very exciting for you. They're not going to expect that you're being 100%, you're not being Ryan Seacrest, you're not working it, you're not there for perfection, you're there to experience it for yourself, and the audience is just there to come along for the ride. And I'd never looked at it that way before. I really didn't. And it's hard to do that when you've got so much responsibility on your hands to carry a live broadcast like that. But I remember in the car on the way back to the hotel, just sitting there with just my face beaming, going, that was a pretty damn cool broadcast. That was a good show, and it was because I was in the moment there and I was enjoying it. So that's where I started to realize that. Same thing when you go on vacation. Everybody is so concerned about carrying their camera around with them or their phone around with them. My thing is, if I'm going on a vacation with somebody, like a certain someone, that it's between us anyway. So maybe we'll capture pictures for ourselves, but it's also not meant to be for everybody else. If it was a vacation for 200 of our closest friends, well, they would have come with us. Instead, it's for us, and we share those moments just between us. And that's enough. Really. That's how I look at it. I've never really, in the past, 7-8 years since social media has kind of really been big, I have never surrounded myself with people that are all about selfies and posting. Obviously, you can't get away from it because you've got family members that do it or coworkers or whatever it is. But I'm not one of those people that's posing for the pictures and, tweet me and blah, blah, blah. Because I find that I don't actually really get along with people that do that because they're so concerned about that. And again, I wrote a book called Put Down Your Damn Phone Already. But I can't relate. I don't get it. And so that's where I start to feel really old. Like I mentioned, I'm turning 35 in a few days. But that's just how I am. And it's funny to think that the generations are so different like that. And yes, there are people in their 40s and 50s that are probably just as tuned into social media as a teenager is. And to each their own. I'm not judging anybody who does it. I just think that you're living through a screen. And sure, you're capturing what's all around you and you're seeing it or you're experiencing it or you're taking a selfie with it in the background. But the focus when you're doing that is other people. You are not focused on the moment for yourself. God, I sound like a psychologist or a therapist on this. But again, like I said, don't get me wrong. I was that person. This was before the days of social media. So I was going to a red carpet in Los Angeles. I've got all the pictures on my digital camera, and I was posting them on a website, like a back page of one of our websites that I had made, and emailing and blind copying, like 30, 40 friends, whatever it was. The subject line of the email was like breaking news. Like I made it seem really official. And then I even wrote like a full-on like a recap of everything that happened. And that was my focus. So I would be in Malibu watching the sunset or on Hollywood Boulevard or whatever. And I'm taking all these pictures. And the first thing that I'm thinking is, got to get to the hotel. Got to dump all the pictures on my computer. Got to, create this web page and then send the link to everybody. But then write a big story about it all. And then I would check the statistics because that really was the social media at the time, was that I would look at the web stats and go, I sent this to 40 people and 3 of them looked at it. I spent hours and hours and hours thinking that everybody cared and would be riveted and just at the edge of their seats because here I am in Hollywood. I'm doing all these things that nobody else can do and has the opportunity to do. And nobody cared. But again, was it because was it coming across as bragging? Was it boasting? Was it me going, I'm this big shot in LA, look at what I'm doing? Well, really, fast forward now a few years and ta-da, social media. So I don't do it anymore. And that's the thing, is that I have to document some things for work because that's why I'm on these trips a lot of the time. But definitely if I'm going out for dinner with somebody or if I've met up with a friend or whoever, I'm not broadcasting that. And the funny thing, did I write a newspaper? Yes, I wrote a newspaper column about it, how the assumption is that because I've posted a picture of my dogs at the park, people assume that is happening right now, that we are at the park right now. And it is not uncommon for us on the radio to tape our travel shows that we do in Houston or Montreal or wherever, Puerto Vallarta. It's not uncommon for that content to run when I've already been home for a week and a half, 2 weeks. That's also just how broadcasting works. And so, yeah, I will act, and it's just a safety thing as well. I don't need everybody to know that I'm in Houston, Texas right now, and there's nobody at my house, and the alarm is set, but you can probably get through this window and do this and do that. It's a safety thing as well. At the same time, I have gone on the record to say I don't believe that people care to know what I'm doing every minute of the day, so I certainly don't broadcast everything. Share your thoughts live at jbonair.com or on social media. No, just email me live at jbonair.com. This is The Scribble.
Isn't it crazy that you wait for payday, but before you know it, you're strapped for cash again? It's time to stop blowing your money and become a smart spender with the book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com. Learn simple ways to cut costs at home every day and during special times of the year. Don't go broke at Christmas. Don't remortgage the house for a fancy vacation. The book is filled with tips to save you money throughout the year. Check out the best-selling book, The Official Guide to Being an American Cheapskate at cheapskatebook.com or on Amazon and iTunes.
We hear you chirping. Get scribbling. Tweet up the Scribble at The Scribble Show. Join the discussion with Jeremy Bradley. It's all going down right now on Twitter at The Scribble Show and at thescribbleshow.com.
We're out of time. My name is Jeremy Bradley. This is The Scribble. Thank you so much for tuning in. Remember, subscribe at iTunes, SoundCloud, and at thescribbleshow.com. My name is Jeremy Bradley. Bye-bye, everybody.
Want more Scribble? Check out thescribbleshow.com for past shows, celebrity interviews, cheapskate tips, and more. That's at thescribbleshow.com and on Twitter at The Scribble Show. The Scribble is a speak-free media presentation.
If you want some real heat,